I'm turning it back on. Okay. Hi, I'm Catherine Ewing, and I am here with Elizabeth Stitt. Delighted, actually, at the opportunity to follow up from our tapping session that we did during the webinar. Was that just last week? It seems.
Seems like a long time ago, but I think it was just last week. Yeah.
And so, on the webinar where I used EFT to demonstrate, a modality for really help clearing some of the things that keep us stuck or imprisoned, right, in places of self-doubt or self-criticism or self-sabotage and even shame and guilt. I mean, there's so many ways that we could talk about this, but that was sort of the focus of the webinar. And Elizabeth was brave enough to volunteer to do some tapping with me on an issue that was up for her. And we know each other through a mastermind, a coaching community. And as many of us in that coaching world, Elizabeth was struggling with this idea of the sales conversation and talking to people about buying what it is that she has to offer or sell. And really, really strong, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, you were clearly up there on the 10. I think, you would rather have pulled your fingernails out or, and some of the words, you used to describe that, that you would do almost anything, right, other than have that conversation with people. And even if you were having a really nice conversation, feeling very connected, the moment you moved into what you perceived as the sales part of the conversation, you felt robotic and you felt disconnected and you felt sort of sleazy, and were really, really resistant. And so, stuck in this place of, oh my gosh, I have to let people know what it is that I have for them to purchase, or else I don't have a business, right? It's kind of hard to run a business if you can't sell what it is that what you have to offer. So we did some tapping around that and, dealt with it on the level that, we just talked about, tapped on, and you can see that in our, in the webinar, which I'll give you the link to go back to. But so it's a week later, and we just thought we would catch up and sort of check in and see what's transpired in the meantime from the tapping. I know Elizabeth has done some of her own tapping over the week, and I'm really curious to see what's come up for you, because there's always something under the surface, right? We start someplace with the presenting problem. I feel like a sleazy, whatever, charlatan when I go to sell my products, or I get paralyzed, or I become speechless, or I feel robotic, or whatever that is when I'm asking someone to buy something from me. But almost always there's a thread that if we literally tap into that, will take us into some deeper experience, early life memories, feelings about ourselves, feelings of unworthiness, or so. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just gonna hand it over to you, Elizabeth, and see where it took you this week.
Yeah. So, first of all, thanks for letting me be your guinea pig. It was really valuable. And as you suggested, I continued to try the tapping after we had talked about it or we had done it. And I have to say that the experience was more intense by myself than it was with you sort of bringing me through, where I could kind of just listen and respond rather than embody the thoughts quite so much.
Yes.
But it really quickly shifted from, I don't like this conversation, to, what if I don't have what it takes? Mm-hmm. And, so that thought came, and I started getting really tight in my throat and my chest. And, I was a teacher for 25 years, and I was a 5-star teacher. It's like, what if I'm only a 3-star coach? What if I'm not a 5-star coach? Why would I give up something that I was really superior at to be mediocre? And what if people haven't gotten the value from me that they've paid for? Yeah. So, you know, the more I dwelled on that, the tighter that my chest would get. This idea of not giving enough value, the idea of, so still around the money, so, and the valuation of it.
Yes.
And, yeah, like what if they would have gone, they would have been better to have gone to another coach, right? Somebody who gave them more value.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so that sort of came from my throat down into my chest and even my abdomen. And so that was sort of one little session, and it got really intense. And then I came at it again. And
can I just jump in here for a minute and ask you, on that scale, that 1 to 10 scale, where do you think you would have started when you had the recognition of, oh my gosh, what if I don't have what it takes? What if I'm only a 3-star coach? Why would I have made this change when I was so good? I was a 5-star teacher.
yeah,
Provide the value to my clients.
I mean, I think that it was maybe like a 7 when it first popped into my mind. Mm-hmm. And then the more that I really thought about it, it was like, 10 plus.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to sit. It was really hard to sit and keep going. Mm-hmm. And I sort of just flooded and backed away from it. I think I got distracted too by something external.
Saved by the bell, as it were.
So yeah, so then.
So in that first round, it actually got more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually a really good point, because, most people think it'll just automatically start coming down, and often it does. But it will also often bring to the surface something that's deeper and more upsetting, challenging, troubling, emotionally disturbing, disruptive, because that's really what is coming up to be healed.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, it was too much for you, and you chose to just leave it and then perhaps come back to it. And then it sounds like you did, which I'll let you get on to explain. But what I tell my clients is, if you continue to tap even just one more round, it will often, start to come right back down again. It really is sort of the pressure cooker, everything coming up to the surface in that sort of chaos theory just before something changes form. It's in that really chaotic place. And then.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'll tell you is that even though in the moment I walked away from it, in the subsequent few days, it became like less of an issue. And then I came back and it presented itself in a new way. And that was more of a woozy. And I really couldn't even tap on it. So I think that's sort of where we can start today, maybe.
Okay.
And this was the idea of, okay, and I'm going to say this, it's being recorded and it's going out to people.
Yeah, and you can even just tap as you're saying it, because it'll really help to bring the emotion down a little bit, right in the moment. And I'm right here with you. I got you, honey.
Thank you. So part of the worthiness of, who am I to be doing this work? I had a child who was in my care who got bit by a dog. A nice dog, a really nice dog. And the child, as far as I can tell, is entirely unaffected. I think she still has a little scar. She got bit under her neck. Tons of blood. Like number prime directive, do no harm, right? As a teacher, as a parent, as a human being, prime directive, do no harm. And here I am wanting to support parents and being the best parents they could be. And a child got bit on my watch.
So who am I? So who am I? Was it your dog?
It was my sister's dog who was visiting, and the child was at my house. This was my neighbor, and we had this really great, easy relationship of, like, yes, I'll take the baby. And I had totally forgotten that the dog was there. And these parents are completely laid back, cool, very relaxed, sensible people. And I've grown up with dogs. And in fact, in my own family growing up, it's pretty much expected that a kid gets bit by a dog. I certainly got snapped at as a child. My daughter and nieces and nephews have certainly all been snapped at by family dogs. So I'm not fundamentally uncomfortable with dogs and babies, at least I never used to be. But it was the fact that it was somebody else's baby, A, and B, I hadn't even known that the dog was there, right? I hadn't even given them the chance to say, how are you about baby and dogs? And, how do you want me to do this?
So as you say that, what else comes up about that I hadn't even been aware enough of the dog's presence to bring it up to the parents?
I mean, it feels like such a material of trust on my part that they trusted me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, when you think of the what ifs, right? I mean, I got so lucky. She has a scar, but it could have been, it could have been it could have been her eye, right? It could have been half of her face. This is a big, lovely golden retriever, but big dog. And he was going after his ball, and the face got in the way of the ball.
What are you noticing in your body? Obviously, tears. What else are you aware of?
It's even higher in my throat. Like, before it was more in my chest, and now it's more.
Mm-hmm. And that may be the movement of it, right? It may be the movement. Any other emotions that you're aware of, or thoughts about it? I mean, you've shared quite a few.
I'm getting this physical sensation that's like dry ice on my back, like down my whole backside, like ghostly dry ice coming and freezing my back. Very weird. I think there's something about protection, and really seeing it. The work that I do for children, and working with parents is just the extension of serving children. So really, I am here to protect children. I mean, 99% of the time, like 99.9% of the time, I've done a good job on that. At least as far as I know in this lifetime. I think it's one of the things that made me an excellent teacher was that I always dealt with the child first. And school, curriculum, that's secondary stuff. It's nice. It's nice if we get to that stuff. But making sure that the child in front of me felt safe and secure and was always more important to me, which is part of the reason that I was so attracted to the coaching work. because a lot of what I was doing as teaching was that anyway. My back is still like freezing cold all of a sudden. I mean, it's as if an Arctic wind had just come through just on my back.
I keep getting a particular word in my mind, and it may not be your word, so I don't want to impose it on you if it's not, but the word negligent keeps.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that is that's a pretty heavy word.
Right, and not intentionally. And, you know, if it doesn't resonate, we don't have to use it, but because it's just been very persistent since you started talking, so I just wanted to toss it out there and at least acknowledge it and see how that landed.
Yeah, no, too. And you know, had they wanted to take action against me, that's exactly what it would have been. Right? That's exactly
in a legal framework.
Yeah. And, you know, and that too, I think also that realization that your life and your reputation, and it can just turn on a dime like that, right? Like, you know, one misstep could wipe out an entire career of contribution to the world.
Right.
That would be, well,
a lifetime of where you've built credibility, right, and you've been in integrity and have worked from a place of, you know, absolute care and love for children and their protection and their safety, and how quickly that could be taken away if you, yeah. So I just really want to take a moment as you get your breath. Just honor your willingness to be this vulnerable and this transparent.
This is something that I haven't been able to tell. You know, it's not something that you can just bring up in casual conversation.
Oh, by the way, I was watching this baby, and yeah.
I mean, obviously my family knows here in the house, and my sister knows because it was her dog. I'm not even sure that I told my parents.
And so if you had to assign a couple of emotions to the reason I haven't even told my parents is
guilt.
I feel guilty. Perhaps embarrassment, shame, a lot of things floating around in this experience that may have only taken a couple of moments, really.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure it was so fast. So let's come back to the karate chop spot here, just for demonstration purposes, as we do the setup phrase. Where do we even begin? Even though my prime directive has always been do no harm. A child a baby was harmed.
A baby was harmed
on my watch. And I have so many feelings about that. And it isn't easy to face.
It isn't easy to face.
Or talk about. And even with all of that,
And even with all of that,
I deeply and completely
I deeply and completely
accept myself
accept myself
and all of these feelings.
and all of these feelings.
Even though this started as a conversation
Even though this started as a conversation
about sales
about sales
and a fear of not being
authentic, a fear of not being authentic.
it's amazing
It's amazing
how it's taken me
how it's taken me
to this whole other place,
to this whole other place,
seemingly unrelated,
seemingly unrelated,
but not,
not,
because it's about trust
because it's about trust
and worthiness
and worthiness
and being who I say I am.
and being who I say I am.
A child was hurt on my watch.
A child was hurt on my watch.
Not out of intention, bad intention,
Not out of bad intention.
or negligence, but perhaps there's a part of me
Perhaps there's a part of me
that feels like I was negligent,
that feels I was negligent,
that I wasn't completely present
that I wasn't present
and aware to the fact
and aware to the fact
that the dog was even there.
that the dog was well, I knew the dog was in the house when she was with the baby. I was with her,
Mm-hmm.
but not with the parents. Yeah,
Or that I should have had the conversation
and I should have had the conversation
with the parents.
with the parents.
Because I'm used to having dogs and babies in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, I am used to having dogs and babies, and yeah,
And I deeply and completely
and I deeply and completely
accept myself
accept myself
and open up a space
and open up a space
for forgiveness.
for forgiveness. Even though
The baby seems fine.
the baby seems absolutely fine. The 5-year-old,
She has a little scar,
100% fine.
but I've been carrying this big scar.
But I've been carrying this big scar.
I didn't protect this child.
I didn't protect this child.
And I keep thinking about the what ifs.
I keep thinking about the what ifs.
What if the bite had been someplace else?
What if the bite had been someplace else?
And I, the whole
And I, yeah, lost an eye.
and when I go to that place,
And when I go to that place,
into the what ifs,
into the what ifs,
I feel terrible.
I feel terrible.
You can feel free to put your own words here, add anything that you want to.
Oh, you got it.
Okay. When I think of the possibilities,
When I think of the possibility.
both for the child
both for the child
and for myself,
and for myself,
my reputation,
my reputation
my credibility,
and credibility
what I've spent years building
that I've spent years building.
could have been gone like that. I'm here to protect children.
I'm here to protect children.
And 99.9% of the time,
99.9% of the time.
that's what I do.
That's what I do.
What I've done.
And what I have done.
My guiding principle
My guiding principle
and my prime directive.
and my prime directive.
And in this moment in time,
just like that. Just like
that,
boom. Even when it happened, I didn't know it was going to happen. Wasn't even really. The baby started to cry. I wasn't aware exactly what had happened.
and in that moment, that happened so quickly.
And in that moment, that happened so quickly.
So quickly that I wasn't even fully aware of what was happening.
So quickly, I wasn't even fully aware that it was happening.
Everything could have changed.
Everything could have changed. Everything did change.
Everything did change.
My whole sense of myself.
My whole sense of myself changed in that moment. As a competent, capable, caring, protective, trustworthy woman, mother, teacher, parent, in that one moment, everything changed, and the way I thought about myself changed. And even in light of all of that,
and even in light of all of that,
I can love myself
I could love myself
and accept all of my human shortcomings.
I got this sudden image of like being the toddler and stamping my feet and kicking and saying, I do have value, I do.
Mm-hmm. I do. And so there may be something else in that image that we can explore another time. Because these patterns go back, right? So I don't know if that has a specific relationship to anything, but it would be worth just making a note of. So let's just go through the tapping sequence a little bit.
Okay.
This incident that really changed my life.
This incident that really changed my life.
Changed how I think about myself.
Changed how I think about myself.
And my worthiness.
And my worthiness.
I'm so grateful.
I'm so grateful.
That it wasn't worse than it was.
That it wasn't worse than it was.
It was horrible in the moment.
It was horrible in the moment.
Lots of blood.
Lots of blood.
I felt awful. I can't believe
that
a child was injured.
That a child was injured.
On my watch.
On my watch.
My prime directive.
My prime directive.
Most important thing.
Most important thing.
Is that children feel safe.
Is that children feel safe.
And protected.
And protected.
In my care.
In my care.
Even as a teacher.
Even as a teacher.
Their safety.
Their safety.
Their well-being.
Well-being.
Their sense of themselves.
Exactly the words in my head. Their sense of themselves.
Being acknowledged and seen and cared for.
Being acknowledged.
Was always more important.
was always more important
in the curriculum,
than the curriculum.
or the lesson,
The lesson.
or whatever was on the lesson plan,
Whatever was on the lesson plan.
or that moment. Children first.
Children first.
Their emotional well-being,
Their emotional well-being,
their psychological well-being,
and their psychological well-being,
their physical safety
their physical safety
always came first.
always came first.
What made me such a great teacher.
That's what made me such a great teacher.
I totally believe that.
I totally believe that.
And I was a great teacher.
And I was a great teacher.
5-star.
So,
Even if I say so myself.
even if I say so myself.
But plenty of other people said so too.
Yeah, but plenty of other people said so too.
I was recognized
Yes,
as a really good teacher,
as a really good teacher.
and rightfully so,
And rightfully so.
because I was,
Because I was.
and I am.
And I am.
It hasn't gone away. Just because I've changed direction.
Just because I've changed directions.
In my heart, I'm still a teacher,
In my heart, I'm still a teacher.
and it's still about the children,
And it's still about the children,
even though the focus has changed a little bit.
even though the focus has changed.
And I'm excited about working with parents.
And I love working with parents.
Share everything that I know and feel so passionate about.
They are their children's first teachers. They are the most important ones.
They are the most important ones. And I love working with them
I love working with them.
and sharing my wealth of knowledge and experience with
I'm
them.
sharing my wealth of knowledge and experience and helping them feel confident in who they are and the role that they play.
Mhm. Except there's this one little thing, this one little place,
Except there's this one little thing,
this
this one great big thing
big gaping thing that has shaken my confidence,
that has shaken my confidence.
that's made me question whether
It's made me question
whether I can be trusted,
whether I can be trusted,
whether I can be believed,
whether I can be believed.
because look what happened
Because look what happened
on my watch.
on my watch.
Who am I
Who am I
to talk to parents
to talk to parents
about providing loving,
about providing loving,
safe,
safe,
protective
protective
environments for their children
environments for their children
to grow and prosper
to grow and prosper
and learn,
and learn?
when I couldn't do that
When I couldn't do that
for this little girl,
for this baby.
for that baby. But the truth is,
The truth is,
every parent
every parent
will have a moment
will have a moment
or two
or two
when they're distracted,
when they're distracted,
when they're not paying full attention,
when they're not paying full attention,
even just for a moment,
even just for a moment,
when something could happen.
when something could happen.
The child falls down,
All the time.
runs into the street, picks up a pair of scissors, gets out the screen door. It happens. And I know
And I know
that if one of the parents
that if one of the parents
that I'm working with,
that I'm working with,
or a friend or a relative or a neighbor,
a friend or a relative or a neighbor,
almost anybody else,
anybody, truly anybody,
came to me and said, "Oh my gosh,
came to me and said, "Oh my gosh,
I feel horrible.
I feel horrible.
I wasn't even thinking.
I wasn't even
I
thinking.
left the stove on.
I left the stove on.
I left the washing machine opened and my child crawled inside." You know,
Yep.
anything really.
Yep.
I would be so full of understanding
I would be so full of understanding
and compassion
and compassion
And forgiveness
and forgiveness
for that parent.
for that parent.
And I would do everything possible
I would do everything I could do.
to assure them
Yeah.
that they were a good parent,
Yes.
despite the current circumstance.
Yes.
And it might take a while
And it might take a while
for them to be able to believe that.
for them to be able to believe that.
Because like me,
Because like me,
they would think about the what ifs.
they would think about the what ifs.
Oh my gosh, what if this or that or the other thing? It could have been horrible.
It could have been horrible.
It could have been so much worse.
It could have been so much worse.
There could have been legal consequences.
There could have been legal
My
consequences.
reputation could have been ruined.
My reputation could have been ruined.
Everything I've worked for,
Everything I've worked for.
everything they'd tried to do and be as a
Everything they tried to do and be
could have gone down the drain in that moment.
could have gone down the drain in that moment.
And I would have
And I would have
stood strong,
held strong
reminded them of the truth,
and reminded them of the truth,
of their deep love for their child,
of their deep love,
of their intention never to do harm to their child.
of their intention to never harm their child.
Be as fully present, loving, caring, and nurturing as they can possibly be.
Fully present, loving, nurturing, and caring as they could be.
And the truth is
And the truth is
that even with all of that,
that even with all of that,
sometimes stuff happens.
stuff happens.
And so perhaps
And so perhaps
I could consider
I could consider
offering myself
offering myself
the same understanding,
the same understanding,
compassion,
compassion,
forgiveness,
forgiveness,
and reflection of the truth
and reflection of the truth
of who I really am.
of who I really am.
Back to myself.
Back to myself.
Processing whatever leftover feelings might still be there.
Processing whatever leftover feelings might still be there.
And then reminding myself
And then reminding myself
of who I really am
of who I really am.
and what I can bring
And what I can bring
to parents and children and families.
to parents and children and families.
Restoring my own sense
Restoring my own
sense of worthiness.
of worthiness.
I am trustworthy.
I am trustworthy.
I have so much to bring
I have so much to bring,
and so much to share.
so much to share.
And even this experience
And even this experience
can serve me
can serve me
because I can share it
because I can share it
as an example to parents.
as an example to parents.
About how even with the best of our intentions
How even with the best of our intentions,
and the deepest love we have for our children,
the deepest love we have for our children,
sometimes awful things happen.
sometimes awful things happen.
And blaming ourselves,
And blaming ourselves,
living with shame or guilt,
living with shame and guilt,
fear of being found out,
fear of being found out,
unable to forgive ourselves,
unable to forgive ourselves,
holding ourselves to near impossible standards,
holding ourselves to near impossible standards.
99.9% of the time.
99.9% of the time.
I got it right.
Got it right.
But there was that one time,
There was that one time.
that split second So which story will I choose
So which story will I choose
to believe about myself
to believe about myself
and what I have to offer?
and what I have to offer?
Will I choose to focus on the 99.9%?
Will I choose to
Where I've
focus on?
been a 5-star.
Will I choose to focus on the 99.9% where I've been a 5-star teacher?
Or will I let myself be derailed?
Or will I let myself be derailed
And not allow myself
and not allow myself
to bring my gifts into the world
to bring my gifts into the world
because I'm being held hostage
because I'm being held hostage
by this 0.01
0.01%
0.01% of the time.
of the time.
So just breathing that in, recognizing the depth of this sales conversation and how experiences that we never put together are often related in the way that our mind connects things. The breathing and perhaps even feeling a little bit of gratitude now for that connection, for that recognition, for that opportunity to bring this really difficult situation to the surface to be healed.
Yes. Thank you.
And just coming back to the karate chop spot now, allowing the energy to settle, allowing your breath to begin to flow a little more easily.
I think I'm sweating so much that I have to go change my dress.
Yeah, how's that Arctic wind across your back?
Yeah, there's still like just the tiniest feeling of it, but it's not quite so Arctic. No.
Yeah, so interesting how the energy shows up.
My throat is freer.
Good. And you may need to continue to work with this a little bit more. But, you know, certainly we did some significant chunk of work, and you have some languaging and some words to use to go back and tap a little further and see what else might be there. Follow the thread.
It really, it makes an enormous difference to have your radiant presence as part of that.
Oh, thank you.
Just feeling your love and compassion.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to really go deep here with me, not only just one-on-one, but with the invitation to share this with other people.
I'm ignoring that for the moment.
Okay. We'll tap on that in a private session later.
But I stand by it.
Yeah. No, I think you're doing a great service. And I appreciate that.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, both for volunteering during the webinar and then for, extending the invitation to do this follow-up. And as I said, be so vulnerable and transparent here.
You're welcome.
I'm really interested to see how you move forward with this and how
I know, me too.
How it continues to shift things.
Yeah.
Or bring you deeper into some other things, because as I said, these patterns often move into generations, generational issues, if you believe in past lives, sometimes there are past life issues. These energetic patterns run very, very deep in ways that are not generally obvious, when we start.
Yeah.
And I love, obviously, I love EFT. And I love the opportunity that you've just allowed me to let people see how deep it really is, because people know about it and they kind of tap on the surface and, oh yeah, it's very nice. But in the 10 years that I've been working with it, I have gone places with people that are just, mind-blowing, life-changing, and it's difficult to convey that in words. And so, this was a wonderful opportunity to be able to demonstrate that, so people can actually see, oh, what's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you doing?
Yeah, I can breathe.
Good, because I want to leave you in a good place, not kind of feeling,
I feel like I've been to the sweat house.
Oh yeah.
Good.
And it's like, and when I do energy work, I tell people it's like psychic surgery. I mean, we really just exercise something, quite deep. And so be gentle with yourself. If you have time today, take a rest, take a little nap, drink lots of water, take care of yourself as though you just had a little medical procedure done and you want to give seriously, because it's an energetic procedure.
Yeah.
And so honor that as well. Don't just jump up and off to the next thing.
All right. I will do that, and I thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Mwah. Bye. Bye, everyone. I hope you found this helpful. I'm sure you can appreciate Elizabeth and her willingness to share this with you. And I'll see you again soon. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Now.